I guess that would be more logical out here than the American. I'm Brian Murphy, Chair of the Land Steward Woodward Subcommittee, and I call this meeting of the Land Steward Subcommittee to order. Members present are Alex, Chris, Shane, and myself. For this meeting, the Woodward Subcommittee is convening in person or by telephone or Zoom web conference as posted on the town website, including identifying other public may join. Please note that the meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that other participants may be able to hear you, and anything you broadcast may be captured in the recording. All participants should keep their phones and microphones muted unless recognized by me. And I think if we're all in the room, we don't have to do a roll call vote. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can do a voice vote.
So in this meeting, we're all present physically, so we'll do a voice vote. This is a public hearing and public comment is permitted. I will call on each speaker to address the working group. If you wish to address the group, please click on the raised hand icon or ask to speak by posting a request in the chat feature. Please identify yourself at the start of your remarks. Members of the community may speak if called upon, but they're limited to 3 minutes each. Okay. And everybody has the agenda?
I don't have it with me, but I did see it.
You need it?
I don't think so.
Okay. So tonight, I'll just recap. We're gonna view various documents, the license and the supporting document, the Ag Committee input, but actually the Ag Committee input I have was only on FOSS. I don't have anything in writing on Woodward. Yours wasn't. Yours was on FOSS. Both of John's were on FOSS. So
could be. I think we did get something from Margie.
You got Margie.
yeah, I got her letter and the thing, but it really wasn't specific to.
No, we had some.
I
We had some public testimony at the select board meeting. I think that's about.
Well, I recall John saying at a LSC meeting that he had sent 2 emails concerning.
Well, he sent them to the clerk, and the clerk sent them to another Brian Murphy.
So,
But
Should be
they,
able to find those.
I have them, but I didn't include them in the packet because they never mentioned Woodward. They were only directed towards FOSS file. So that didn't make sense. But we can always look at stuff another time.
but we're going to ask them to
Show,
join the meeting, so
Yeah.
that's fine.
which is probably the same with TCF, right? When we asked them to join.
Yeah, I thought we'd schedule that in January.
Well, I put the letters in the packet anyway, so you guys have time to look at it. And then we have an update letter from Sam and Sue giving feedback and input from other abutters, or I guess I should say other townspeople, because we have a letter from Sylvia. She's not an abutter, but she is a townspeople. Well, she was only a townsperson when she did it.
What
So-
letter was that?
That was the suggested revisions to the support document
Oh, okay.
when you were just a citizen.
Yes, okay. But that was the summer.
Yeah. So hopefully everybody has the license agreement.
Yes.
You have Sylvia's input?
I don't think I do.
Was that in the package, Frank?
Yes.
I think that must have been in July.
I don't think it's dated unless it's signed on the back page.
It would have been in an email. It was,
It doesn't look like an email.
It doesn't look like an email because you,
Oh,
you
okay.
brought it to a meeting.
okay. Well, okay.
Do you know the name of that document? You can see it.
Yeah. So you still can't find the.
I can only get to your email.
I think it looks to me like proposed edits to the,
You can't get to the town website?
I think it was proposed edits to the document that was being added to the
Yes,
I forgot the name of
The support document. I think
yeah,
it's
it
called.
was just going down through it and making some suggestions to that, just on its own, not,
The Woodward License Support Materials Discussion, Native Plant Restoration and Nursery.
Let's do this.
Yeah, meeting packets. And
It's
then,
not crystal clear at all.
yeah, I know.
Got it.
All right, and then she didn't put it there. Because I told you she duplicate everything, so it must be in tomorrow's meeting.
Well, it wasn't in your email to her saying, please post these. I don't think.
It was. I had to send several. So if you go back to LSC's meeting tomorrow,
Oh, I'm sorry, this is, you're right. I'm
okay?
sorry. Yeah.
So it's called this Woodward Clean and Woodward Red Line.
I see.
Those are both from Sylvia. Yeah, it is confusing with 2 meetings in a row.
Woodward clean is the.
Clean one, because one has call out revisions.
Yeah, but which is the license agreement?
called Town of Carlisle Native Plant Restoration. Native Plant / Seed Nursery License Agreement.
Not in the package though.
Which and
I'm against the one that's always posted.
then and she put it in the wrong. I told you she folded everything together. Materials, yeah, the second one.
No. Woodward license support materials.
That's the second one. So I think you're gonna have to look, I think, because she moved everything over and moved stuff back. Which isn't a violation of open meeting law, it's just a pain in the neck.
Okay, I'll work from your email.
Okay. So 33 pages, we want to just go through it, or I mean, a lot of it's boilerplate.
Well, what I did was to go through all of the provisions, and I've made some notes on that, sure. Just going through the provisions that I thought were issues. And I did this, I wasn't like trying to duplicate, Pietro Paola's.
Oh, Steve, so now you've got it.
That's why you don't have the license, you got his notes.
Oh, okay.
So I just went through it, and on my notes, the bolded provisions are the provisions of the license agreement and the attachments. And then the italics are my comments.
Okay.
So I didn't get very far. I got to the first sentence.
And it was wrong.
And it's wrong. It should be the Carlisle Conservation Commission. Is the party on the town side. But it does raise the questions, and part of my query is I don't know the specific history, but under Chapter 40, Section 8C, the Conservation Commission has the care and management. And while I don't think there's any question that the Conservation Commission can appoint the LSC to, sign a license on its behalf. I'm really not at all certain, and I'd like, if there hasn't been an opinion, I'd like to get an opinion of town council on this. I don't think the conservation.
They wrote it, town council created this. Just saying.
Well, I think, maybe, a lot of what a lawyer answers depends on what the question is asked. I don't think the conscom can just issue blanket authority on a core responsibility and say, LSC, you go deal with it. That's different if there was a specific vote, and I just don't know this or not. If conscom, held a specific vote authorizing the LSC on this license, that would be a different story.
No, I think they made a charter that assigned LSD responsibility for the management of town lands.
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
Okay. And this document isn't signed by anybody anyway, right? It doesn't have a signature page.
Well, there is a signature page, and I think it's signed by Judy and somebody whose signature I can't.
Must be Rhonda, because they were the co-chairs. Where did you find that?
It's on page 4 of the license.
So you're thinking you might have to go back to?
I'm thinking, well, I believe it needs a specific vote of conscom. But I'm just one lawyer and not town council, so
All right, so you want me to take that issue to town council?
I would like to take that issue to town council.
Are you gonna do it, or you want me to do it?
I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
That's that. The first line, I still can't, I'm afraid I can't find the license is not in your email and it's not on the.
I may have an extra copy.
I can email it to you again. I actually
Well,
emailed,
some of the attachments don't always go through. This happened before. Getting all the attachments.
I had to send them separately because the license is 17 megabytes or something in it.
If you don't mind my scratchings.
I give it an extra copy.
So that was my first question. Then we go into the recitals, which is, really is the next section of the license agreement. And it starts with a description, and we discussed this a little bit at the last meeting, which is the description has an assessor's parcel number that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And it includes lot 3 on that plan, which is not ours to license. And it does not include any part of what's the assessors have as 4 open space or 4 OS. And 4 OS has that long strip along the northern boundary.
Yeah.
And I think, in retrospect, or looking at this, I think a lot of the confusion about this license arises out of that misdescription, because the access to lots 1 and 2 from Maple Street, I think, is over the 4 OS. And it begins to make sense that the conservation restriction that's on lots 1 and 2 says no parking. And lots 1 and 2 are back in the field, so if you were to have parking, it would assumedly become in that
Opening
opening.
on lot 3,
Yeah,
on lot,
on what,
Four.
4OS, yeah. And so to me, it now makes perfect sense that that CR says no parking, right?
on the existing CR on the other.
Yeah,
lots.
on the other lots. And so the question becomes, in part, what is the conservation restriction on 4OS gonna say about parking and access and that sort of stuff?
So,
And we don't have an answer for that right now.
But didn't that end up in this CR somewhere and it says 2 vehicles?
Nope. Not where I saw it. I just saw
But I
it.
don't know if this is helpful, that's there. Sorry, it's black and white.
So, and that also ties in, I think, with CCF's request that, no license be granted until the conservation restriction is settled on 4OS. I think that,
But we already had licenses issued on the whole thing to.
I understand that, but this is now a problem unless CCF says it's not a problem. Right?
But why didn't they say it was a problem when the Conscom issued the license to Clark Farm?
Well, I don't know that there was parking there.
They didn't, I don't think they licensed that third lot. They didn't license the
Then
open space
then they'd
lot.
have no access.
We don't know if they parked there. I don't know.
They had to drive in there. Yeah, he parked there. I mean, we all parked in there. There's a few
Yeah.
parking spaces there.
Well, I think if you're talking about a license it's different if town, you and the person, you as an official of the town.
Yeah.
Or CCF is the holder of an interest. And maintaining the paths is parking there. That's one thing.
But he definitely drove, I mean, how else would his sheep didn't come by helicopter?
I got it. I'm just, I think that's
And
problem
Judy,
going
who's
forward.
not here, she said that when she leased that land, she didn't have legal access over lot 40, whatever it's called. But that was the only way in. Which actually isn't true, because if we abut this driveway on the other side, wouldn't we have the legal right, if you abut a driveway to a roadway, to make use of it?
I wouldn't.
You could
I don't think you want.
you could try to enter there, but you'd be going on a big stone wall. I mean, where
Maybe the sheep could hop.
Well, I think it's an issue that needs to be addressed. But, and I don't think there's an answer right now, but that should be one of the things we discuss with CCF. Recital B, the land is a portion of certain Carlisle conservation land.
Yeah.
The portion needs to be defined. I mean, it's one thing to say the premises are lots 1 and 2, and then to say that the license applies to a portion of them.
Because it doesn't apply to the woods, right? It only applies to the field.
Well, lots 1 and 2 are mostly field.
But not totally,
Yeah.
because I think that vernal pool is on lot 2.
So that needs definition.
Aren't you glad you signed up for this?
Um,
We would never figured it out.
and then recital D uses the same phraseology, a portion of land. And then it says, amongst other things, to divide established populations, to sell, to support other restoration projects in the area. Seeds will be collected to sell native plants, seeds to buyers. And I think this is actually directly in contravention of the conservation restriction. Section 2A4 prohibits the removal of native vegetation for any purpose other than restoring historic conditions at the premises. So
So the seeds can't leave the property.
I believe that's the case. So, I mean, and these provisions of the conservation restriction are kind of set in stone right now. And some of it depends upon the interpretation of CCF. Other provisions, I think, are, violated by a license. And there's not much leeway on them. But I think one of the things that we should do is to ask CCF for their view on whether the license complies with the conservation restriction. And there are other provisions in here that I think are violated.
We had, my recollection is we had a discussion about removal of, I think there's a restriction against soil removal. And it's pretty hard if you're gonna dig a plant up to not remove the soil with the roots of the plant. And we had that discussion.
Bare root.
That was not my recollection.
Okay.
I think CCF was here for the discussion. Well, not officially represented by a forum or anything, but Jonathan was here and said that the CCF did talk about that. Pulling up a plant, you do take some of the soil with it, but it wasn't. I think they thought that was a de minimis kind of a thing. So I think it was discussed. That's my only point. And maybe we can find it in some of the records, but it's still okay to ask them. I don't object to going back with these kind of questions as well.
Then I just went through the numbered paragraphs. There's just a typo in paragraph 1. We'll deal with that. Does anybody know? I have a recollection from my days on Conscom that we only granted licenses for a period of 3 years, and that the reason was that there was a concern that a longer license might be construed as a lease that required town meeting approval.
No. So what happened in the vote was, we decided to limit corn to 1 year and then make the other ones 5 years.
Yeah. But does anybody know whether that was checked out as being okay?
No, I just know we voted on it.
I think it was reported to us as okay, that the licenses could be up to 5 years.
Well, there's no obvious reason why 5 is, or 3 is.
It should be written on somewhere, right? I agree with you.
And that wasn't LSC, that was Concom, so I have no. I was able to find that license and send it to the people.
Okay.
I don't.
Then it says in paragraph 3 of the license, the licensee shall use the premises solely for agricultural use in accordance with the terms of the provisions of this agreement. So when you go to section 2B10 of the conservation restriction, all agricultural activities have to be which are conducted pursuant to any lease or license, have to be consistent.
Sorry, was that to be?
10 on page,
I'm not questioning, I'm just saying.
down towards the end of the second paragraph, all activities conducted pursuant to any lease or license shall be consistent with the conservation values, which is a defined term earlier on, and purposes of this conservation restriction.
I'm sorry, I still can't find you. You're in 2B, page 6.
2B10, page 6 of the conservation restriction.
Oh,
Conservation. Why is it?
which is tiny. Got it, I see it now. Okay.
So that refers you back to the conservation values, which are in section 1D. I love this going back and forth. Conservation restriction. And here's where I think we run into trouble. It says agricultural preservation. The premises contain fields currently used for agriculture and livestock pasturage, the continuation of which will preserve uses and scenic vistas that are integral to the history of the property and represent the agricultural and farming heritage of the region and the town. And I read that together with section 2B1 of the conservation, which says for the grantor, which in this case means Conscom, shall regularly mow or otherwise maintain an open agricultural fields condition at least all areas now in fields as shown in the baseline report. And I guess it seems to me that the raising of plants for collection of seed is inconsistent with continued pasturage and mowing. So I think that's another area that needs CCF input. To me, they're kind of, I know they're both agricultural, but to me, the use that's proposed by this license is not consistent with those provisions. And nothing in the license requires regular mowing, or livestock pasturage, or maintaining the fields in open condition, which are, pretty central to this conservation restriction.
It would be really interesting to know if Toll's conservation restriction had the same language, for example, where we leave that open and don't mow it.
I don't know the answer to that. I can only deal
You have a bigger can.
I can only deal with one problem at a time. There's another provision. I think this is just could easily be addressed in the license, which is, there's nothing that says they have to follow established, up-to-date, blah, 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 best management practices. I'm sure that was the intent of the license, but it is a provision of the conservation restriction.
Yeah, I mean.
So that's number
part of-
10.
That's,
That was 210.
that was,
Any other use of activity inconsistent?
yes.
So I think the problem with the last piece is the relative newness of this sort of approach, right? To try to harvest and cultivate native, I mean, maybe cultivate's not the right word, but you know, let a seed bank come out and harvest what plants or seeds you can from those native species, right? So I'm not sure we'd find a list of best practices on this sort of thing.
No,
And if there
I,
are, it would have been nice to know what they were before we issued the license.
well, I think, you know, it's interesting to me anyway. I've seen so many of these conservation restrictions and they all, a lot of the language just gets repeated over and over and again. And it is interesting to me that this conservation restriction really doesn't make room for
Anything but mowing and pasture?
or you know, corn growing or that sort of like agriculture. And I'm, you know, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I mean, I think the basic notion of what LSE was trying to do is not a bad idea. But I think it's very hard to shoehorn that into this conservation restriction.
But LSC inherited this whole thing
Yeah.
from Conscom.
Yeah, well, and no, and I think when this conservation restriction was drawn up, you know, the grantor of the conservation restriction probably could have cared less what it said, so long as it didn't result in, you know, 5,000 people parking on the streets of Woodward Village. You know, it was whatever the town wanted. And so, you know, it was conveyed to the town, and the town did what it always does, what it normally does, or it's normally done in the past. The real problem is if you want to change that now, CCF would have to turn a blind eye, which I don't think is what they would want to do, or go through process of amending the conservation restriction, which is a monumental task.
Are they in the process of amending the existing, or are they doing a separate one?
Separate
It's
one.
a separate
It's too much
10
effort.
for OS?
It's going back to the state saying we're gonna throw out this old one and make a new one. That's a monumental task. So that's why I said, I mean, I think we're stuck with this. Are there better candidates? Depends on what other CRs say, and obviously the fields. You know, my other comments, I won't go through them all, but my other comments are not I mean, the things that are easily fixed. I think what I would say generally is with respect to the license and then the support documents, the exhibit B, and then I guess what would be exhibit B. where there are substantive approvals required, it almost never mentions CCF. And some of the provisions of the CR require CCF's approval for the things, and others just be good practice to ask them. So that's
Did we get written permission from CCF or anything? I think we did.
Yes, they took a vote. I don't believe it was
Did
related.
it then, did they send something?
It wouldn't be us, it was
Consequence?
Conscom. But Melinda's here, I guess we could ask her if she wants to respond, or Sylvia might know.
Well, we haven't seen the license agreement.
Seriously, ever?
We saw an initial draft when Judy was first putting it together. It was a concept document with bullet points, but we've been waiting to see what the document is.
But I believe that document was made by Conscom way before LSC was even involved.
License?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think
No,
so.
it was drafted by LSC.
Are you talking about the support document? That was done by LSC.
Are you talking about the license agreement?
The native plant, yes, the license agreement. That was done by Conscom. Or done by lawyers for Conscom. But what Judy did was the support document, which has a bunch of issues as well.
well, I think part of, I mean, for me coming on after this was done, was part of my difficulty was just figuring out what the license was. I mean, the documents that were posted as part of the farmers' agreements, at least up until recently, was incomplete, missing pages, all kinds of things. And that's, that's parcel, I think, of the difficulty and the confusion surrounding this. And so if CCF hasn't seen the entire license agreement, I think it's even now still doesn't have the support document as it's posted on the website. Is we should give them, they have to see the entire document.
So you don't think Sylvia ever gave them the license?
Well, I don't know. Sylvia was out for most of this.
I never went to a meeting last year in person after December 12th. I was either in the hospital or in rehab or.
But this was before that, because December 12th is when Conscom signed off on voted on the charter for LSC. This document's much older than that.
You're working on an agreement that was signed when I was out. It was
I understand that.
2025. Oh, but you mean the basic license agreement?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Not
No, that I inherited that pretty much. And
from town council?
several,
Well, you're talking
I
about.
know town council has seen it because when we were working with the person who had sheep or goats on Woodward, wanted to put sheep or goats on Woodward, we went over the document with the one for grazing with town council because it's a different document than the regular license agreement. But this particular license, well, the general license agreement for corn or hay has stayed pretty much the same for many years. And it was done with town council and they have seen it. I couldn't tell you what year they saw it, but they have seen it. One of the things that I did with a member of the CONSCOM who was also a farmer and now on AgCom, was we went over the land use report form and the land use planning form and brought that more up to date, but you're not there yet. So what I've seen in looking at the agreements that are online that you guys signed off on last late winter, I guess, in some cases they aren't, all the pages aren't there. And in one case, there's duplicate of a plan, but no written words. It was a little odd.
Well,
So
And
Brian, you
some were,
think that-
also some were mislabeled.
And the support document, whatever it's called, wasn't even included. It was referenced, but not.
not included. And when I first looked at the license on the website, I mean, there were a bunch of pages missing. I think on the conservation restriction was originally posted to every other page, and it was just, photocopying, scanning,
And it's garbled data.
yeah, and garbled data too. But I think that's just on the signature line.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, look at
additional guidelines. So
LL and like that could somebody initialed it maybe, and it turned into that one of the scans.
can we incorporate, is this incorporated by reference then, the support material?
Yes,
Well, that
Just
just,
considered
I think
incorporation by
I think
reference?
it says it's a
It's just,
B, but
Let's
it's
say additional guidelines. I don't know if that's, paragraph 8 of the license agreement. I'm sorry, what 8?
so,
Exhibit B.
yeah, what happens is the license agreement says the permitted use is further detailed in attached exhibit B. And then you read exhibit B. And its last paragraph says additional guidelines can be found in the Woodward license. And so I don't know if the guideline is binding or what it is. And that's an odd way to incorporate something by reference.
It would really need to be like a available document with the date and everything else.
And it should be kind of initial.
and the front page, what you have is stamped by it was signed by LSC and by the applicant, the licensee. But if the attached support document was not on record in town, in the clerk's office.
Or it wasn't on the website. And what was?
But I'm told when it was mailed out, both things were mailed out to the 4 different, when it was advertised to the 4 different respondees, but that doesn't mean that it was,
Yeah.
it's not really referenced. So this sounds like a mess that needs to go to town council.
Well, I think it should go to town council with some guidance from us, or at least that should be our recommendation to the full LSC. I think, given what Melinda has said, that CCF obviously should be provided with the entirety of the license as it is, understanding that we're looking at, for want of a better word, fixing it at this point.
But it's still, I don't. So it sounds like when Sylvia was out, and Conscom was voting on this, they weren't talking to CCF.
Apparently not.
CCF was part of an initial discussion with Judy when it was a concept, and we have not been formally part of the process since that time. As you may recall, there were a number of rushed meetings where it was not possible for other parties to contribute to the process because there was a feeling that the agreement needed to be put in place quickly. That was frustrating for us, I must say. And we've been waiting to see what the agreement is actually going to be since then. It's been, as you know, it's been in flux.
So my concern is that when it belonged to Conscom, you should have had it way back then as a final before, because LSC wasn't involved until basically January. The control of this document belonged to Conscom. And it's,
Sorry.
go ahead.
The Conscom normally doesn't address agricultural agreements until January and February. So they did not address the upcoming agreements in December there. So I don't know what happened in January and February as far as any Conscom discussion of the license agreements. Or I did go to some of the meetings in Zoom, but not all of them. I wasn't up for it. But the only way to find out what happened with Conscom and the license agreement is to go back and review minutes that I'm aware of. I don't even know if there's any hard copies of the license agreement in the office.
Yeah, Brian, I have to say, that's my recollection too, is that this was all part and parcel of it was after the license agreements were delegated to the land stewards. And we did all of the hay and corn, and we did all of those agreements, including this one. Since January. I mean, we got a late start, and so there was a rush to get the licenses ready so people get their fields in the spring and things. But I don't recall it coming to us from Conscom as a full form.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't have.
No, I don't think it did.
So you're saying LSC went to the town council and had this produced? They
Yes.
certainly didn't build it themselves.
That's my recollection. Was Judy went to town council, maybe got a template and put in some of these other.
I don't think she did this.
Well, my suspicion is, but I don't know for sure, is that she got, the land stewardship got the template, which I believe is in a Word doc, and you can go through it and strike stuff and add stuff. And I don't know if, how any changes happened.
All right, I guess we have to investigate that. But the hand or the word, the voice of what Judy added as the license support materials is completely different than the rest of this document. So I don't think she did this.
Well, it's from a template, right? So she maybe asked, like paragraph D, for instance, and you can fill in the blanks on some of these other things. But
I can't believe she did this.
Well, I don't
that's
think it matters
just my
too much.
recollection.
Well, it'd be good to know of town council. It'd be good to know who did what and why it didn't ever go to CCF. But anyway.
Can I clarify one thing? Having about the activities on the property prior to this. You mentioned Andrew having sheep and goats on the property. That is the case. But prior to that, there was a previous license agreement issued by the commission for the Woodward fields as well. And the person for whom the license agreement was issued was no longer able to have her goats and sheep there. So she left at the end of a summer. And she had the license agreement that was for grazing. And so then we advertised, and Andrew got the license agreement at that point. So it was just in the fall and in the next summer, and that was it. But previous to that, all the grazing that was done by this other person who had to leave. And prior to that, when it was in private land, it would have been Judy Asakoff and her goats, I think, or sheep, whatever she had.
Wait a minute, are you saying there's someone between Judy and who had to leave?
I'm trying to remember her name. But if I have to say, I guess
somebody.
The license agreement was actually Judy's, and she got somebody to fill in for her. I think that's the way it was, but I'm not positive. But then Judy couldn't, she wanted to be on the Land Stewardship Committee, and she couldn't do that and have a license agreement at the same time and be involved at all in any discussions about the Woodward fields because she would have a financial interest. So basically, she decided to give it up.
Well, that's helpful.
Yeah. I would rather have told you that in private. But.
No one listens to these meetings anyway.
It looks to me like we got a reporter. But anyway, I mean, everything was all on the up and up. But there was a history of grazing on the town's fields prior to the current situation, and the access off of Maple Street at that point was over town conservation land, but it didn't have a conservation restriction on it at that point. And so it was using the same access as it always had been used for years. But it was town conservation land. I don't think it occurred to me at the time who to get permission from, even. Because we owned it.
Yeah. Okay, can we move along?
Yeah, I guess my only other comment that wouldn't duplicate what Sue and Sam have said is the license does provide for the use of herbicides, including chemical applications, with the permission of land stewards.
But that's just to, that's not like Duffing using glyphosate, that's just to remove invasives, correct?
It doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that?
But to my understanding, Woodward as it is now or would qualify for organic farming, put chemical applications down. Say goodbye to that. All right.
I don't know. You mean if it ever had pesticide use, then maybe there's some period after.
It's herbicides.
Yeah, same pesticides and herbicide.
Yeah.
But I believe the only intention of that, and we'll have to correct it, was to use that to remove invasives, not to spray the field. If it's not clear.
Mentioning that.
And sorry, where is that in here, just so I can keep track?
That's let's see. So that's in the guidelines.
But is it referenced in the guidelines of your notes?
Yeah, it's in my notes. It's on the I think it's the last page.
Yeah. Oh, I see it, G. And I think before Judy and this other woman, it was Duffy had the land, so it may not be.
No, he never had the land.
No, it's on part of the one.
I thought somebody said it was used for corn, and before that it was used for row crops.
So I remember seeing it in row crops, but it would have been back around 1965 or so. Mark Duffy wasn't even in town. I would have been probably Woodwards themselves. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows who it was? But it would have been a long time ago. And I think the guidelines on pesticide use for organic is either 3 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So one of the concerns might be is that you use it and then for some reason the licensee decides, well, this isn't working out for me and leaves, and you've lost an organic field. That's just the thought. I mean, it's not necessarily what's going to happen, but it's something to be aware of.
And I think we have used pesticides in that field on the Canadian thistle, and I think we have it toll as well.
Oh, I don't know, I've never heard of Canadian thistle being at Woodward, but toll doesn't have a CR on it.
Oh, okay.
And there was an agreement, an agreement with the company that did that. I'm not aware of any company being hired to do that, anything like that down at Fox Hill. Excuse me, down at Woodward.
Do you remember, was the thistle sprayed, or was only sprayed at toll?
Yeah, just a little spread of wood and smoke.
Okay. I don't know if you could hear him, he's agreeing with you. No spray at
Yeah,
Woodward.
I hope so. I like to think I have a reasonably decent memory.
But I think we would make a different rule. I mean, we don't want the invasives to take over the fields. If we have to do things in the perimeter, I assume that's different than, spraying a field.
Don't know.
It's not.
You got to find out.
It's just there to kill plants. That's what glyphosate does.
Yeah.
It's doing the same thing. Whether the farmer sprays it on the plant or somebody else sprays it on the plant.
But I'm saying, as opposed to using it in a field, I think we only were considering using it on the edges to kill invasives.
Well, one thing you can do is smother it.
I mean, I guess I'm not following the logic. I mean, it's used in the field to kill weeds. It would be used on the edge of the field to kill invasives. It's still an herbicide
Right.
Yeah.
to kill plants.
So, for example, at Foss, they cut down the glossy buckthorn, and then they take a brush and they paint it just on the little stem so that it doesn't grow again. And I'm sure at Woodward, if we want to get rid of the bittersweet vines, which are huge, you'd have to cut them, and then you treat it and usually bag it. So it's a spot application versus
Oh,
a,
right. I
So
don't know.
that's-
It's not that specific, is it? In the,
but it should
it
be.
just says, so,
It should say
yeah, it's not really.
spot applications only, although it says approved by the commission or the LSC, so hopefully they wouldn't allow a aerial spraying.
Well, no one's ever done aerial spraying in Carlisle.
I'm teasing.
And I can't imagine bagging up our multiflora rose either.
Well, we've been doing that, so,
Have you?
yeah, that's what those bags are at the Woodwards. Somebody took a picture of, it's the packet here.
No, that was from the
That was black swallowwort.
Black Swallow Award.
That's gentle. Multiflora rose is terrible. Anyway,
And not that it matters right now, but those bags are being removed on Wednesday and taken to the incinerator in Concord.
Excellent.
And as long as they don't, spill them out as they're doing that, because it'll spread the seeds. Choose the one.
Maddie, I don't know her last name.
Okay.
But I think she may be.
All
All right.
I had a question about, or comment about the dog provision. Was that in, the support document? Was
Yeah,
it,
that's in the support document. There's a whole bunch of things. So you want to move on to that?
Farmer made plan, I mean, well, these comments include the support document, right? And Alex's last,
Yeah,
one of the last comments in Alex's is about the dog provision. Paragraph H, I guess it is. The H. C and H.
no, that's should
It's
be
on
A.
page 2. Here's an H.
Oh, okay.
So in one version of it, it starts again with A.
Yes, the version is A.
I gave you guys, I put on the website the original version that went out to the
With the cross house,
applicant. No, that was before that.
the one I just got off the website.
That's the one that Sylvia did.
But
There's another one that says support document.
I guess my concern with the paragraph anyway was if it's conflicting with town bylaw, and there's a leash law in town. It's a control law, right? It's not a leash law. Dogs must be under control.
virtual leash.
Virtual leash, right? So my concern is that, in hindsight, if we may have rewritten the town bylaw without knowing it, then I guess I just wanted to see what you guys thought of that. Saying that dogs must be on a leash in the fields, when the town bylaw says you don't need a leash on town lands.
So what about, for example, Floss Farm? Could somebody run their dogs through Duffy's corn?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the
Do,
point. That's
They
a
do.
good question. They probably do.
Yeah.
they do.
So, but my approach to this shouldn't be in the support document anyway, because support document are the things that the licensee has to do. Is she gonna sit there 24 hours a day and make sure that, all dogs are under control? I don't think so. So I
Shall
thought it
maintain
should
trails already established by the Trail Committee leading into and around the meadow area. These trails, this is XXX feet wide. LSC would post, all dogs must be on a leash in the fields. So that's something that the LSC is supposed to do.
Yeah.
According to this document.
I mean,
I just feel like when you've got a bylaw in town, I'm not sure that this license agreement is a place to rewrite a bylaw.
No, I don't think it belongs there anyway. I think the whole thing should be struck. Because it's in the wrong document.
I feel it. We're shaking.
Is it?
I said we're in agreement then.
No.
hey, come up the fireworks.
Yeah, I'm just raising it as a concern. I don't know, as we progress through this, I think. So,
So sorry, I think you're looking at either the version that Sylvia did or the one, it was also one that I did, but there's a clean copy in the website for. That's the page before that. And this is the copy that was sent out to all the applicants in advance.
Well, so
Oh, it does address the herbicides in there. To address aggressive or youth plants applied by a licensed applicator. Find the notices.
Yeah, there are some inconsistencies. I've made note of them, but there's some inconsistencies between the components of the document.
All right, so do we want to go through this more? You think that's,
I mean, my own feeling is the major, the rest, these can be dealt with. I mean, we have to have, undoubtedly, we have to have a conversation with the license holder about removing some of these provisions. And that part of it, to me, is, assuming the license holder doesn't mind, and that part of it, to me, is, fairly easily dealt with. I mean, I'll be happy to take whatever it is and do an edit, and then we can all look at it.
but it sounds like we need to pass this
Yeah.
through town council first, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying is I think, the major, what I would call structural issues is whose license is it? And to what degree is it inconsistent with the conservation restriction? Those, to me, are the two kind of before we waste a lot of time with the rest of it. Because if CCF reviews the license and comes back and says, yeah,
Mow it.
mow it or whatever.
Yeah.
Then the whole thing becomes moot. And if town council says you gotta go and correct, particularly if town council says, look, Conscom can appoint the LSC to prepare it, appoint LSC to sign it, but Conscom has to be the one who votes the license.
On the meeting on Thursday. I don't think we'll be done.
That would be, another thing altogether, because then Conscom may look at it and say, well, I don't know what they would say. But to me, those are the two precursors to the rest of it. And if the answer comes back, it's fine under the conservation restriction, and Conscom delegated the authority to LSC, and what LSC did is, then we can fix the rest of it.
All right, so, I planned to have the licensee come in on the 15th. Is that premature because we don't even know we won't know what town council's gonna say by then? But should we ever discuss it anyway?
We should, so I've never met the licensee, I've never heard from the licensee. When I look at what transpired over the course of this year, I don't know whether they were just like, we don't know what's going on, or whether they're saying, maybe this is not for us. If they don't have an interest.
Well, I talked to her today, and she didn't say anything about not moving forward, but she said it was really frustrating. There's no plan and there's no CR, and we don't know what we've got. And are we clearing the invasives through the fences, the metal fences on the side, or back to the stone walls? And what are we doing?
Well, so that made,
Yeah.
That's a discussion worth having, I think.
And she did meet with Sue, and I gave her a copy of Sue's latest document. For example, there are pictures of piles of pots, and I said, "What's that all about?" She said, "That's our recycling effort at our office. We ask everybody to bring back the plastic pots, not throw them away, and we send them to recycling." So it isn't that isn't a future view of Christmas future for Woodward of piles of plastic pots everywhere.
Where were the pots?
It's on their website.
Oh. Let's see.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. Is this a scenic view of Carlisle you want?
So I know there's a place I can bring my plots.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You can't put them in, they put them in the plastic. They don't.
Yeah.
It's,
Most of that plastic is not recycled,
you know, most towns have a sign that says.
the plots,
Ours just says no plastic
particularly
bags.
black plastic.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'd like to have a discussion with them, maybe not on a granular. You know, well, I mean, we can ask questions, but it's like, you know, what do you think you're doing? What do we think you're doing?
Well, I did ask her to bring the management plan.
Well, that's a big piece of it, because I mean, a good part of the guidelines is about the management plan. And the license really doesn't, I mean, it has a bunch of aspirational stuff, but it's not that management plan.
And when Sue came to her office, she said there's so much in what she had to say that the answers were all, no, we're not doing. Sue thought she was doing raised beds. She's not doing raised beds. You know, you'd have to bring in material. I guess there were a bunch of things that were discussed. She doesn't even think she'll ever have a porta potty, but she might have a little greenhouse building to keep the tools in. But it sounds like it's a pretty low.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of people have questions that lead to suspicion or something.
And today she talked about educational stuff, and she said if we were doing an educational thing, it would either be at a school or a town hall. We can't control, 75 kids running around the field in Woodward. Not to mention there's no good way to drop them off. I mean, I guess you could drop them off and take the buses back to either to Kimball's or back to Foss, but.
Well, I mean, if she's available to come,
She said she'd come on the 15th in person.
on the 15th, and maybe that's the discussion we have. And that'll probably help inform CCF too,
And the abutters.
and the others.
Well, this didn't
Do
go.
we have some actions that we want to, I mean, can we sort of officially give CCF an official copy of the,
I will do that when I get home,
right?
but I want to give the original, not the lined out,
Yeah, make sure we get the right
but they
one.
should be on the website.
Maybe that's the official copy. I mean, maybe we get it from the town hall. I don't
Well,
know.
this is the official copy from town hall, it's stamped.
I see, yeah.
But does that have all the exhibits, or?
It has all the exhibits that were submitted to town hall.
And then, but that doesn't include the guidelines, which are, right?
It does now, it did not.
Okay. But CCF should see that.
And you think it's on the website, town website?
I made sure it was
Okay.
under LSC. It may not all be under, it probably isn't in this meeting, and it's been, the first meeting we have, I think I put it under there. And it was probably under the meeting that didn't get the agenda, so we couldn't hold it last week. So I don't know whether they keep putting these things up there, because people are gonna grab the last thing they see, right?
So I guess, if they come in and say, we didn't know what we could do, or I guess I'm wondering how we go forward with town properties. We're sort of a stewardship committee, right? And we have
In name,
stewardship assignments. So there's a steward for Woodward. And if there's issues,
I think it's you, Shane, isn't it?
it's
Are you
probably
Woodward
more than
steward?
one person.
Yeah, Judy.
Okay.
I guess
I mean, that was one of Sue's questions. She said, you know, who's in charge?
right, who do they go to get issues resolved?
I guess
And,
they,
I've had sort of similar things on, and from Alex and I, who are stewards of the bog, didn't know that it was being cleared by the company they hired. And I thought it, you know, I volunteered to get it cleared. So we rushed over there and Alex brought his tool and we got it cleared. But, you know, I didn't know, you know, as the steward, that was going to be happening. So,
The next day.
yeah,
they probably charged anyway.
well, yeah.
Well, they had to know something, so they did an extra foot down in the base.
Yeah. But I think that's a lot of where they could, probably where some of the problems are. But I bring it up as a point of, you know, if they don't know how to proceed with their agreement, shouldn't there be somebody, shouldn't they have like a point of contact in the town? Should it be the conservation administrator who brings those problems to the committee? Or should it be, you know, I'm not sure, you know, in this case, in the bog case, it was conservation administrator who had sort of the information that we needed. So I'm just wondering how in the future should we like include, well, if you're having difficulties, go to the conservation administrator and we'll get that to the land steward.
Or if they have a relationship with the land steward on the property.
Is there a listing on the website of the members of the land steward?
Yes,
So maybe we can put next to the individual names.
we have a document from Warren. We should just put that up.
Somebody would say, oh,
Because it's,
that's the bog called Chris, not Tara, Chris.
That's Alex's bog.
I think communication is really important. And the whole issue of the bog dam clearing is an example. It's very likely that Megan knew that the company was going to be going out there, but she might not have known that you guys were going out there, so she didn't know to tell you.
but I think in
You
any
mentioned
case, if they're the stewards, they should be told.
It's
their
really busy.
responsibility.
She was in the middle of getting budgets together and all kinds of stuff going on.
I did not mean that as a criticism to Megan whatsoever. So.
Okay, good. Maybe the thing
But
is,
just
you're
as
going to
you
do a
say,
big,
it's about
maybe the
communicating.
thing, if you're going to be doing a big task like that, let Megan know.
I mean, it's the same.
I mean, I did mention it at the conscom, so, but perhaps it just wasn't, you know, conscom meetings are long and lots of things get said.
Tell me about it.
But we had the same with the H&H study, right? They were like coming tomorrow. Remember?
Oh, yeah,
Nobody
I
knew.
couldn't make it, yeah.
But nobody knew what was going on. So,
Yeah, that was bad, I thought.
but she was new. So,
I mean, that's how when she found out. I mean, the company let us know that late.
yeah.
So, anyway, this is way off subject.
Well, and it isn't. It's just another example. So,
It was an example of how do we resolve the licensees holders questions. You know, she lost the whole, I mean, I don't know what went on this summer as far as cultivating native species, and I know there was one event, but I'm not sure what else happened. If it was because they felt paralyzed by something,
because they
they
didn't know
should have
what they
had
were
some way
supposed
to
do.
resolve that paralysis.
Well, also there was no rain. So, what were they going to do? The milkweed did barely even grow.
Well, so, but, I mean, as a general practice, one way to deal with that is to put in the license. Any questions, call Chris.
Nice try.
All right, so,
So the next meeting is the 15th, correct? And you have the licensee schedule come?
correct.
And then I'll take this basic structural issue to town council.
Which I think is the most efficient thing absolutely possible. I mean, if I tried to do it, it would double the bill.
Can we also send the concerns with the conservation restriction to the CCF as well as the soil?
Yeah, I can email this document.
Okay.
But you might wanna, I don't know how quickly we can talk to town council. He or she might say, not an issue, not an issue, and we don't need to take it to CCF.
Well,
Or we might
well, it's
say
their,
more
they
issues.
hold the conservation restriction, right? So
Yeah, they
it's
would,
not our town council that would answer those
Yeah.
questions, right?
they have to answer those questions.
Right.
Okay.
As the holders, if I understand
Hmm.
these conservation restrictions. I have one myself too, so I should understand it
Because we
better.
can't, we, the
I'm
town,
drafting that one.
can't manage ourselves. Somebody else has to hold it.
Yeah, I'll say that again.
All right, so do we wanna do anything else? Or we kinda,
Well, Sue and Sam are not here, so
well, and I think it was more that we were gonna compare their document to what we were doing, but I think, as I read it, most of it just didn't, was based on a lack of knowledge. So for example, she said that somewhere in here that, she thought that they should have to get a land use permit if they're gonna do blah, blah, blah. Well, they wouldn't any more than we'd make Duffy get a land use permit to put in the corn. Right? They're the license holder, so they're bound by an agreement.
You want to, I mean, I don't know. Should we go through that document point by point, or is it something that maybe just the ones that you think can be resolved?
I guess I'd like to, well,
Or do you want to wait till we have the butters to go over?
I think we should wait for the abutters. I just want to make sure you guys had all this.
Hmm.
And it was a new document that came in. And I just sent it today to the licensee. You know, we don't have we don't have the management plan. We'll get rid of the trash. You know, arguing that, that they're not farmers. You can't really argue who's a farmer, and who's not a farmer, but she,
Well, I mean, that was a discussion we had. So I think Judy said, my recollection of our discussions was that nursery growing, that it did, town council weighed in on who's a farmer and what's agriculture and what is.
yeah,
and horticulture is the
Yeah.
subcategory of agriculture.
Yes.
That would be-
Forestry is agriculture as well.
oh, yeah. And golf courses are agriculture. You know that, right? That's why they have some exemptions. That's crazy.
It reminds me. Well, it's a story for another day. It was a golf course story.
Okay.
No.
So, and I think meeting with the licensee will help things like 17 sales on the property. She's not gonna do sales on the property. You know,
Yeah, as I go through this, a lot of things are just informational that are gonna get filled in.
yeah,
Hmm.
All right, and then the other document I'd given you was the DCF letter, but we don't need to really deal with that right now. We're still waiting for the quote from Francis McNeely. I asked again what happened to it, because we need a plot plan. But that's more of the meeting we had with him, so I don't know what else.
I'm not sure there's much we can do productively.
Then
Next meeting, December 15. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Hands up.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Yeah, it's happened.
This is,
That,
this is going a little slower than I thought it was all gonna go.
I will